Ermac wins.
Before Mortal Kombat XL, when a player mentioned that they hated to fight against Ermac, more often than not they were referring to his Master of Souls variation, which at the time was really Ermac's only viable variation in higher level play. Taking into account all of his tools as a character, when equipped with the zoning and anti-zoning abilities of Master of Souls, it made him a particularly annoying threat to face offline, and even more so online, particularly in a laggy environment. The Master of Souls variation equips Ermac with the tools necessary for space control, anti-zoning, high damage, as well as a vortex that can be used with and without meter. The tools unique to Master of Souls Ermac are going to be Vanish, as well as Soul Ball. Truth be told, you're not going to see a lot of Vanish in higher level play. The move has a considerable amount of recovery frames, and is fairly easy to punish on reaction. You may get hit by it once or twice in a set because you try to jump at him and in turn eat a neutral jump punch combo. But honestly, the move is an afterthought. The primary threat of Master of Souls is going to be Soul Bowl, a move that allows Ermac to ensnare his opponents, recapture them at any point during a combo, and it's also what gives him essentially free mix-up opportunities and a vortex that, like we mentioned before, can be used with or without meter. Now, in all my time playing this game, I've found that Master of Souls players come in one of two types. There's the first type,
Ermac wins. Flawless victory.
and then there's everyone else. So the first thing we're going to look at is Disappear, because once you shut that gimmick down, you typically won't see it again throughout the rest of the set. You'll generally see it once, maybe more, if the Ermac player suspects you don't know how to deal with it. Now, one of the golden rules for fighting Ermac is not to jump at him unless you have a means of altering your arc, such as a dive kick, Kano ball, etc. For Disappear, you really don't want to jump at him unless you're right next to him, and even then you have to kind of time it and make a good read. Because when Ermac is coming out of Disappear, once the recovery frames have passed, he can cancel his fall into any special move or a neutral jump punch or kick. So, from a distance, if he's seeing you jump at him, this is what's most likely going to happen. Voila. We had a badly timed jump, we didn't know how to deal with that gimmick, and now we just lost 36% into a knockdown, and it's still his turn. Now, you might be saying, well, can we neutral jump punch? And you can, on a good read. However, you don't know when Ermac is going to come out of the disappeared state. So while a neutral jump punch is certainly an option, if you mistime it on a bad read, this is what's most likely going to happen. See, that's even worse. We had the right idea, we made a bad call, and it cost us 42% of our life and put us full screen, where again, Ermac tends to thrive. So what can you do? Now, truthfully, there aren't many options in the game that beat every scenario for Ermac using Disappear in the air. I've seen players just make good reads and punish Ermac as he's coming out of it. I've seen players not attempting to do anything at all and just trip guard or try to pressure on his way down. In my experience, I've found that moving underneath Ermac yields the best results. And then just uppercutting him when you see him come out. Some characters can convert off these anti-air uppercuts into full combo. Some characters can't. It's going to be up to you to go into the lab and figure out what your character's best options are. I can tell you right now for Kotal, it's just an air grab. And that's why you won't see Ermac using this move on the ground. That, and when using Disappear on the ground, he can't cancel anything on the way out. So he's stuck in all the recovery. And watch, I'll even hold up to jump and you can see how long it takes him to recover. Very easy to trip guard. Even the EX version. Now, if you ever see Ermac using Disappear or Vanish on the ground to bait you into doing something, you don't want to whiff anything. You simply just want to walk up and grab him, much like you would Ethereal Melina. Now that we've covered Disappear, we can move on to the real meat of Master of Souls, the Soul Ball. Now, we mentioned earlier that Soul Ball allows Ermac to recapture his opponents, thus granting him a free mix-up or free pressure opportunities. Now, one of the reasons people hate fighting against Master of Souls is that essentially Ermac hits like a truck, and any conversion or combo he lands mid-screen, in the corner, or even off of a trade is going to hurt a lot. So one of the keys to fighting Master of Souls effectively is to establish as good of a ground game as you can. For many characters, jumping at Ermac, let alone Master of Souls, isn't a worthwhile option just because of the risk that's involved. In addition to having multiple solid anti-airs, Ermac can also throw his Soul Ball at any point during his jump arc, so telegraph jumps are often going to get caught. And skilled Ermac players can even perform near instant to instant air Soul Balls to catch taller characters like Kotal even if they don't jump. And in turn, you lose a chunk of your life. So the key is going to be not to jump, or at the very least don't telegraph your jump, and don't overcommit to anything that has a lot of whiff recovery frames. So you're in a match against Master of Souls, and he's going for his usual zoning, anti-zoning shenanigans. He's using ground pound, air blast, chucking soul balls. You're running into them, eventually you win, and you're losing a lot of health in doing so. So what do you do? I like to think of it like fighting a cancel character, along the lines of Swarm Queen Devora, Dragon's Fire Liu Kang, Ayla's Cage. When I'm fighting those characters, I'm keeping an eye on their stamina, because on a certain level, their stamina is going to dictate what their next move is going to be. When they're going to go for a grab, when they're going to continue their pressure, etc. When fighting against Master of Souls, as an Ermac player, I'm keeping an eye on the souls around him. Now, we know that when Ermac has all three, he gets a fully charged soul ball, which even at full screen can convert into full combo. So in a sense, you have to respect the fact that he has that option and not overcommit to anything. However, when you're sitting at full screen, you see him chuck that soul ball. If you happen to jump over it, and I would advise you to do so very carefully because soul ball has a large hitbox. When he chucks that soul ball and you happen to block it, that's your turn to move in. Now, fun fact, at full screen, set the opponent to jump to kind of demonstrate my point. At full screen, soul ball is slightly plus. Let's see if we can. Slightly. Now, Forever Elite argues that it could be upwards of plus 17 or plus 18 if the setup is done correctly, but that's not really the point that I'm trying to make. From mid-screen to far screen, once you block the soul ball, it's your turn to move in. Now, Ermac does have options, of course, for when his opponent gets in, but you can't let him throw a soul ball and then proceed to sit there in zone because you're too afraid to close the distance on him. Keep in mind that soul ball under normal circumstances is at least minus 23 on block. And for those who don't really look at frame data, that basically means that any character in the game can combo punish it up close, easily. So, a quick look at what not to do. And a quick look at what you should be doing. Now, up close, it does get a little trickier because this is where player skill is going to come into effect. Now, this isn't going to teach you how to beat every Master of Souls player you're going to run into. It's merely to show what some are likely to do under a certain circumstance. Now, at some point online or even offline, you're going to run into a Master of Souls player who is eventually going to overcommit to a mix-up, usually after a excuse me, a confirmed poke. So this is what you're most likely going to see. They'll do down 3 a couple of times to get you to duck, and then they'll go into the overhead. Now, we'll see exactly how negative Soul Ball is. Okay. Keep in mind that I held up with Ermac to jump as soon as he was able. Now look how negative Soul Ball is on block. You have all the time in the world to combo punish this up close. For example, so as you can see, Soul Ball is not hard to punish. Even at a slightly further distance, you still have plenty of time to run cancel. And if he's standing too far away, even though you might not get a direct punish like you will with Tremor using forward 1 or standing 2, that doesn't mean he gets off scot-free. You can still take your turn and apply pressure or a mix-up to Ermac and make him regret overcommitting. Alright, let's review what not to do. Now, let's look at some of the things you can do. So that's going to be the general do's and don'ts of fighting against Master of Souls. Now keep in mind this video isn't going to guarantee that you beat every Ermac player you run into, or even every Master of Souls player that you run into. What it will do, however, is let you see past some of the gimmicks and get a bit of the mindset behind Master of Souls, so that you know what's most likely going to occur under every circumstance. From this point, it's going to be up to you, the player, to go into the lab and figure out your character's best options for getting around Soul Ball and for punishing Disappear on reaction, or at least not doing anything that'll get you blown up and lose 35 to 40% of your health. Just remember these key things. When Ermac has all 3 souls, you have to respect his option for Soul Ball. Don't jump at him if you don't have to, and don't overcommit to anything mid-screen that has a lot of recovery frames. When he doesn't have a fully charged Soul Ball, that's your time to move in and begin to pressure or mix him up, depending on what character you're using. Alright, stay tuned for our next video where we'll take a look at Mystic Ermac, the variation you've seen time and time again since the XL patch came out. Stay tuned. And that will conclude this episode of How to Deal With featuring Master of Souls Ermac. If you found the content to be helpful or informative, leave a thumbs up and subscribe for future content. If you have a question about something that you saw in the video or something you'd like to see in a future video, leave a comment below.